Hey, it's Rick. 20 million RPG. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, I can tell you what we're going to talk about today. I've seen some stuff. I've seen things on the internet that I do not understand, which I would have understood, be it 2 years ago when I used to play the way that others played. But since then, I have corrected my ways and become 4D. Well, what does that mean? Well, well, it's 4D is when you discover that all these guys, like you know, uh, Seth Gorkowski, say for example, one of these, super efficient YouTubers extraordinaire, espousing their wisdom to the people. And then you discover that these people like him and DM's Lair and, How to Be a Great GM, all those guys, they are giving terrible advice. And this is not intentionally. This is not intentional that they give lousy advice. It's intentional because they do not understand. They do not understand how a role-playing game works. And those of you out there, also in 3D and 4D, you might also not know exactly how this is working, because you'll jump to like some conclusions that sure, we're right in certain aspects of blah blah blah, as 4D gamers, right? And you'll agree upon it, but you won't understand exactly why it is important to do the things that we do when it comes to communication. This is the articulation of information between the game master and the player, and how that should work. Nobody ever explains this. It's like an unknown when you approach GMs, DMs, whatever, or these knowledgeable people. They don't example what they are explaining, and instead they go into kind of like this wordsmithing, platitudes, kind of, not exactly showing you the example. They're explaining something but not exempling it, and it can get it's hard for a person that's never come into a role-playing game to know what it is that is expected of them when it comes to the way that you converse in the game. So this is what we're going to get into. And well, first off, let's see, we're this is kind of hard because you're kind of like chicken and egging it. Chicken, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I'm kind of going about where should I start in this circle of weirdness. Well, okay, let's get into what exactly is the game master's and I see I have Zonal R on the up and coming here. I'll let him have a minute or two to kind of set up and congeal some thoughts. But what exactly is a game master in the role-playing game? And I mean, do we see it evident in other things? Like movies, books, novels. Well, maybe Zonalar knows the answer to this, so I'll invite him on the stage. Hey, man.
Hello.
Hey, we got you loud and clear. Nice.
Ah, beautiful.
Everything's working as far as all the gadgets go and technology. So, what?
I didn't log into StreamYard, so every time I join, it asks me to, click the Google button.
Yeah.
And then I have to join another time. So.
Oh, and then he presses the wrong button by accident or something. You know, you never know what happens with technology. And, you know, that's the thing about, you know, trying to present a game online. You know, you're always restricted by how you know your how integrated you are with this technology to go ahead and display something like this. There we go. He's back. Wasn't me. It wasn't me. No.
Yeah, it just throws me out when I want to look in every time.
well, you have sympathizers here, so they're yeah.
Nice.
But that's the way it goes, you know. You know, novels. Okay,
Oh,
where's
yeah,
the game?
those are
Where's the
good.
game master in this novel here? Where's the game master in the novel? All right. So I want to show something here, okay? Zonalar,
Yeah.
please let me demonstrate some interesting stuff here. Let's add something to a stage here. And all right, let's go through this. So let's go for we're gonna go right to, I guess, to where this basically starts here. Imagine you're in a submarine, okay? So this is like a submarine. You guys are explorers, right? And the main character is going to be Lucas in this case, and Charles is an NPC, okay? So
Yes.
what you hear is the narrator narrate, which will be the game master, okay? Everybody out there, this is the game master. He says, before you, the beast unfurls from the depths, its jagged tentacles lashing out as the endeavoring truth. Endeavoring truth. Charles yells out in alarm, jerking back on sub's controls. It was closing in on them, churning beak, growing larger and larger. And Lucas, which is the player, he says, he gasps. He says, I gasp. That's it. And when Charles yells back, that's what, Lucas? And then Lucas replies, the Kraken, my sea monster. And then say, as the NPC, well, hold on. Your sea monster looks like it wants to open us up like an anchovy tin. Or what? I'm sorry, I can't read it so small. I have it on my other screen. It'll look weird if I'm looking some other way. But yeah. Where's the game master in this? Is it somebody that somebody's asking questions? How big is this Kraken? What color is it? It doesn't matter. You know, that's up for your imagination to conjure up. As a player, I would say anything that the game master hasn't given to you as a entity, truth, a thing that's in the game, you should be able to embellish a little bit. It's part of anyways. It's part of my co-creation as far as game master goes. So it varies from game master to game master. So I know when people like Byron here, Byron Levitt. This is from his book. It's Deep Madness. It's the Shattered Seas. I know a lot of game masters will go into a GM player kind of mode in their head. So what happens is the game master comes up with an idea, like some sort of a condition, like the world is ready to fall apart. It's in dystopic kind of a setting, and then the players come in. And and they'll partake as participants in this simulation that you're creating for them. And the thing is, you have to get yourself, like the game master has to get out of there. So you write in the context of a narrator in a novel. Well, in a game, you are a narrator. So keep yourself as narrator. Don't go ahead and make yourself a presence in the game as the GM yourself. You're not some floaty balloon that dangles behind everybody and is invisible to everyone, except for the player who seems to reflect back onto it and ask it questions all the time. and the balloon indulges by, by saying the things in order for the player not to do the wrong action. Right? Is this kind of like gaming the floaty balloon behind you? So, what is the game masters, Omar? Am I speaking truth here? We should not be a presence in the game.
There's a thing of role-playing games and culture inside tabletop role-playing games. A lot of them expect the game master to be the demigod they can just turn to and ask, the floating head in the sky, like, what color is the elephant that we see on the horizon? It's like, why do you ask me? Just look at the elephant. You will know when it's pink. You will know. You know.
Yeah.
And that is very difficult to what's a good word, to like unhinge, to like take off the whole premise of, oh, let's get together and do a role-playing game session. But this time let's not act like the game master is literally in the world able to answer questions. Just interact with the world like you're really there. Anything that helps you put into your character's shoes is a good thing. We understand, like, you're not actually your character, you're not actually there. It's all made up fantasy as a baseline. Otherwise, we would all be schizophrenic and losing our minds.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I mean, if you were to look literally at a regular run-of-the-mill game session that you would find, live play, it would basically be Q&A with the game master, or it's game master using so much exposition that he explains everything to the players, everything, almost to the point where all the secrets are revealed, so the players won't hit those bad things that come up. So that I've seen plays where, especially in Traveler, where everything is circumvented away from role play. So if you're going to go ahead and negotiate a contract for all this kibbles and bits, this 4,000 tons of kibbles and bits that you need to send to Cyrus 10 or whatever it is, that becomes literally a bunch of die rolls and oh, okay, yeah, it looks like you've got yourself a good 400 tons of kibbles and bits, and you negotiated to 1,000 credits for it. When it could be so much more by all right, so what's your offer on this 4,000 tons of kibbles and bits there, Johnny boy? Come on. All right, let's see what your offer is. You would reply,
yeah, I put down like a sack. That's all I can do.
Looks like a lot of chump change to me. Well, let's see. Let's get the boys in here. Come on, guys. Get the machines rolling. A bunch of men come running in with their counting machines, clunking them onto the table. All right, just throw that bag of goodies in there and it'll go ahead and sort it all.
Yeah, just tip over the bag.
The change goes in, starts dingling away. Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. The machine starts counting out the cash. It starts trundling on. All these numbers start coming up. Behind you, we're here for our cheek, man. There's a gang of people behind you coming in. Guy in front of you, the man with the money, puts his hands up with the rest of his gang. Oh! Now we got something interesting.
Not again.
Now we got something interesting. These are the things that people are missing out on because they didn't actually go ahead and do like an actual role play of what could happen. The game master can go ahead and flavor that up as much as he wants.
Yeah.
The players get as much juice out of it as possible. Just this money exchange thing to go ahead and get these goods becomes a huge adventure. All because of, opportunity. I came up with this idea just now. I didn't write it down. It's not in any of my notes. I don't have any notes on I just have basically things on notes on how novels work, how the game master would kind of work in that. I was just writing some kind of weird shit, but it's easy if you got one of those brains that can go ahead and come up with improv ideas all the time. You can come up with neat stuff like that. And, it's a whole adventure on its own. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
um,
It's I think like what came to my mind as a game master, allow your players to experience the world.
yes,
If you can, try not to expose it. And if the world is complicated, let the players seek out that information on their own.
exactly.
So you can like space it out, and the players can look for more. Like if it's a star, which movie is it called? Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
You have the military ad explaining the whole alien invasion and that we are pushing back, and you should join the military academy. I'm doing my part, and then it stops. Do you want to know more? The player should be the one that like, oh, I seek out more of those clips. That looks awesome. I want to know more. And it's on the players to seek out more information.
Yes. Yes.
So he can get like another clip, and the next one is like, and there's even more propaganda presented to you.
So, Zonalar, you enter the starport from XX09552. The restaurants before you, and people sitting down, strange alien type creatures pulling up, sucking their drinks. An Autobot comes up. Sir, would you like a drink? As a, container with a straw.
Like a big eye stumbling over my words, not sure what to say. I just say, yes, please.
Courtesy of X501219 Starport presents to you the drink. Meantime, other people are, drinking their drinks and stuff, on their tables, looking at you with their strange 3 eyes, 4 eyes, 10 eyes. They shriek in horror as you put your appendages towards your face. He does not use his feet. He does not use his feet. They're all freaking out. Now this is experiencing, alien culture shock. So if the aliens are actually, drinking things using their feet instead, because that is their cultural norm, this is suddenly something that you learn when you are in the moment, experience it. I don't go ahead as a game master and say, as you reach XO blah 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 blah, you must remind yourself that you must take care of not eating or drinking anything with your front appendages. It is looked down upon as a affront from their religious beliefs. Something like I mean, seriously.
I guess I have to sit down and use my feet to drink my beverage. It's gonna spill all over me.
Exactly. So now you have this. How do you overcome some sort of strange bias?
I put my socks over my hands and pretend they're feet.
and the response is, oh, much better, much better. As they cover their multi eyes and look away from you. Shame, such shame. Yeah. No, you can play out all kinds of cool, radical stuff, by having the players experience it instead of you foretelling it or, broadcasting it somehow as the incorporate floaty head, behind the players. I don't know. But Seth Gorkowski has some great ideas. Would you like to go ahead and watch a video?
Yes, Rick, I would love to.
All right. Thanks, Zonalar. I'm glad you asked. What are the 3 questions that improve your game? We are going behind the mind of Seth Skorkowski now.
Do you know the guy? I don't remember
yeah,
if I've ever seen a video.
You've never seen a... Oh, you know Seth Skorkowski, don't you? He's famous. Here we go.
Sponsored by World Anvil. Hello, Internet. Seth Skorkowski, and today we're going to talk about 3 questions that game masters should ask to improve your game. And like with any game master advice, the trick isn't simply learning to ask these questions, but when and how often you should be asking them. Overdoing it can become tedious or even detrimental. Now, this video is going to be system neutral, so it doesn't matter if you're playing Dungeons & Dragons, Outgunned Adventure, Cyberpunk Red, Call of Cthulhu, or whatever else, the same general tips apply. Now, first up is not one of these. It's a popular question that game masters love to ask, and then they tell other game masters online that they should be asking, but at best, it isn't actually very helpful at all, and at worst, it's simply annoying or antagonistic. And that's, are you sure? Hard success in the lockpick. I open the door. Are you sure you want to do that? Yeah. It opens up to a round room, and in its center, a black lacquered box rests atop a short pedestal. Okay, well then I'll step inside and inspect it. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes, that's what I said. Silver inlay runs across the box's face, kind of like circuitry, and it all comes together. It looks like an ivory button on the top. I push it. Are you sure you want to do that? Dude, yes, I push it. I push the button. The game master asking, are you sure, isn't bad in and of itself. It can add a touch of tension, especially if the player seems a little bit unsure of their action already, but it can easily become overused and become annoying.
Seth, what are you in the game? What are you in the game? Are you a game master?
I'm sure.
Are you the narrator of everything? Or are you a personality that shows up in the middle of it and starts giving game show advice? You can do left. You can do right. You can go to the center door. You can go ahead and look behind car number 4 for the secret mirror of enlightenment. Whoosh. And behind there, we have a vacation for 2. Which one do you want?
Maybe you'd like to call a friend first.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly, the picture here is exactly what is wrong here. And
The game master as a game show host.
As a game show host. And it was here. Elf Hunter would say, I know a guy who literally says, I have 2 options here.
I choose the third option.
I know.
And leave the table.
I have 2 options here. I leave. Yes. Or I endure this. But yeah, the game master is not supposed to be something in there that you ask questions to. You should use your just your action. Use your action for explaining it. Now what was the question that was being asked? I think it gets into detail here. I think it gets into are you sure you want to do that? But again, in different ways, and he shows different ways that you can do it where it's not overbearing. So we'll go into that. Any input here, Sonar? I know I've been yakking.
The big problem with this, if you have players at your table, they're already a bit nervous about taking actions, and they badly want to defer to a friend or somebody else at the table to take the reins away from them because they don't want to make a mistake. So every time you ask them if they are sure, you make them even more neurotic about their answers. Like, oh God, I'm not. I have to question everything before I can make a decision. And you can unwittingly, I believe game masters, they don't try to do that, but you make them freeze up, and now it will take them a lot longer to make anything happen in your games.
Right. Right. But there is a way that the player can get more information or get more backup information. He simply just turns to his companion, another player, and says, "Hey, man, what do you think we should do about this? Do you think I should push this button or not?" You're
the leader. You got us all together. Make the choice, man. I trust you. I'll be right behind you, whatever happens.
Okay, here we go. That's
the pit trap opens up. Wah!
Yeah, exactly. Or whatever. You live and die by by your actions. It's the way we approach everyday life, except the thing is when you approach everyday life, and this is what I was talking with some of my new players that I've had recently, is I say, okay, you get up in the morning, you get yourself dressed and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you do that with your consciousness is not actually describing things of what you're doing. So this is a habit that you have to develop, is describing the things you are doing. So, I mean, if you really want to practice it, you just get up in the morning and then, just say in your head, I'm doing this, I do this, I put my pants on and go into, the washroom, wash my face, whatever. Or maybe it's
my nails black.
Whatever it is that you do, you explain it one action at a time, so it allows everybody else to have a turn. So, this is how you get this communication, this form of back and forth between players and game masters going, and learning how to say stuff in your first person. Really connects you to your character through the eyes of your character, and it is you, the character, doing the things, not you, the person, but you, the character. And the back and forth that you go with the game master is you have to pretend that he is not there as this big head that you talk to. You have to, state, okay, I pull up my phone and I look to see what my itinerary is today. Then you can, if the game master can go ahead and interject. It says you have 3 messages from Long John Silver and whatever. Game master can go ahead and explain it as a narrator what it is that is being shown on the screen and stuff. And you try not to push the player one way or another on their choices, because you're not supposed to be there as the central consciousness of this character. You're the central consciousness of the character belongs to the player, and you're just giving him information about the outside vicinity of his character, so he has something to reflect on. So if you look at the novel format that I showed before, it's basically a game master and player unified together in one sort of thing. So the narrator creates the puzzle or a problem or whatever it is, and then it gets passed to the player, and which thinks it acts to do things to undo that puzzle, right? And then it goes back to the world reacting. And then it goes back to the player, and the player says, I'm going to get more help. So player decides to get more help. The world reacts to that, and then goes back to the player again, and he finds an alternate solution. So he could do that. And then the world reacts to that. And, this is basically how a lot of writers write their stuff, is they're thinking in a separate, 2 different minds. The world reacts as well as what the player does, sort of the main subject of their novel. And
now I have like a devil's advocate question to that for players out there. But Rick, what if, as a game master, I want the players to read this very important email that's time sensitive, but the players never check their email accounts for the character? What do you do then? It's got to be this awkward 20-minute session where nobody knows what's actually supposed to happen, and they miss the opportunity of the actual adventure hook.
You just go on with whatever the players are doing. I mean, seriously. If you're not giving cues that something's being alerted on their messages, or emails, you're not giving your players enough information. I believe Seth goes into a little bit of detail about, you should go ahead and give your players enough information so that they can make proper decisions. As he also goes. We can also get into the rest of this video here, but yeah, I I don't rely on what I have for any kind of story or anything. Absolutely not. I just all I have is NPCs and they have goals. And that's all I control. So I can't control where you, the player or players, what you guys do. You guys can ignore notifications if you want. You can, it's you do that every day, anyways, right? Right?
Oh God, way too often.
Both of our discords are probably going off all the time, right?
Like a casino machine.
Yeah, and that's the way. If that's the way your character is, that's the way your character is. Does it check his I've actually seen that in a movie where the guy doesn't check his phone and he's missing all this important information. Then when he finally gets the information, it's right in the middle while he's confronting the bad guys, and it's actually one of the bad guys was giving him the message, and then suddenly exposed in front of everybody who's leading him information, and oh no, shit's about to fly. So it could lead to an interesting thing that happens later on when he catches up with all his emails. But that doesn't concern me. I have no concerns as a game master on what the players do. I just present what happens in the world, and
Yes.
they decide what they want to do with it.
It is important for the game master to understand this. As a game master, you will feel the pressure of, but I want to give them a cool adventure, so I have to put it right in front of the players. But if that is your tactic, every adventure will feel it will not feel very real, because of course the problem shows up at our doorstep every single time. Quick, hero, we need your help. It's why don't you ask the sheriff? He's being paid to
right. He's the one to deal with all the lawlessness around
What's
here.
Up with me? I just want to make some money, man.
Yeah. But I can understand people that want, say for example, people say, "Oh, I want us to run I want you to run us through the secrets of the silent streets," kind of like a little setting kind of thing. Sure. Then you're kind of leading. You've got the information in the book. You can run it, but run it as if you were not in the scenes and everything, right? So you're.
What if we are actually there?
What's that?
What if we are actually there, in the adventure, going through it, instead of the game master having to say, "And now we go to the next scene."
Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't use, if people want to go to the next scene, I just tell them, and this is with my group that I have here in town, I just say, "I proceed." And that's their words that they use to go ahead and state that they want to go to the next. This is usually when it's at the end of a discussion that they have, and they decide that they're going to go ahead and hit up the forest. And at the end of their thing, they go, "Well, I proceed." And then I go through everybody, making sure they all want to proceed. And if they all say that they all want to proceed, we start proceeding to the next, what happens basically. And I find that's real effective. It works really well. So, they've been last night we had to cancel our game, but I was still there to find new players and stuff, and yacked with Spencer for a while, and we had a good talk. And I was on Benadryl, so it was all the stuff in the air was getting to me, and my eyeballs were ready to go ahead and roll out of my head. And so I was there kind of in body, but not in mind, but was yakking with him for a bit as Benadryl was kicking in.
You were the floating head in the sky.
Yeah, I felt like a floating head. Exactly. And I was bouncing ideas back and forth on it. I was saying, "Yeah, I'm doing this topic today," and I was talking to him about it.
Beautiful.
It was interesting. I was also trying to find a game to buy, but there wasn't anything there that was appealing to me right at the moment. But due to me going to the game store over and over with Castles and Crusades, they're bringing in Castles and Crusades books. So,
Oh, cool.
Stephen Chenault, you can thank me later, okay? so if you're getting an order from Wonderland, yeah, that was from me. That was directly my influence. So, but
I want my cat, Stephen.
Yeah,
I want my cat.
No, we're getting people into more simpler RPGs here too, so it's a little bit more easier on the brain instead of trying to calculate a character from 5th edition, which is the current big thing up here, I guess. But anyways, so game show hosting.
We can go back to the video. We can answer some comments, however you want to do it.
Yeah, let's go back to the video here. I know people we'll go through some of these in a bit here, but back to where are we here? There we go. All right.
Is that your final answer? An irritating game show host might ask over and over again. A popular way that game masters might use the question, "Are you sure you want to do that?" is as a subtle warning that the player is making an obvious but terrible decision. "You boys want to live forever," I yell as I leap across the chasm. "Are you sure you want to do that?" "Oh, yeah, to the other side where the portal is." Okay, well, Mike tries to leap across the 60-foot wide chasm and falls to his death. "Well, that was a weird suicide." "Whoa, 60 feet wide? I thought you meant 60 feet deep and narrow enough to jump." "Nope, but I tried to warn you." By asking.
This is where we get into you must do you can't be doing kind of sort of descriptions. Don't use kinda, sort of, like, akin to, blah blah blah, kinda like, it's almost, no, use definite descriptions. You let the player know that the gap from the edge of the cliff to the other side is 60 feet wide, and you show that wide. Give them the direct wide.
I can see this
Neat.
happen at tables all the time.
Yeah.
You arrive at the 60-foot chasm. All right, boys, let's jump over it. Is it 60 foot deep or wide? The game master never told us. We assumed, and both people assumed, but it was the opposite.
Right.
So
If
you
you
take the leap. Are you
mean,
sure you want to do that? It's not helpful whatsoever.
if you don't declare it, like, if you're making it kind of not clear if it's 60 feet down or if it's 60 feet across, then give it to the player, because it's their imagination that takes hold above yours as the game master. Believe me, it will save you a lot of heartache and pain later. Go with what's in the player's head. If he's arranging the pillars, in the room a certain way, that's up to him. If you have a picture of it, then he's got no excuses. So if you had a picture of the scene, from the cliffside looking down and the gorge before him, with a little bit of blur to show distance, it's going to be kind of evident that the picture will give you 1,000 words worth of information right there, without you saying anything.
A couple of tricks is adding adjectives when you describe something. Like, you put in the cliff as a challenge for the characters to figure out. A dangerous chasm expands between you and your goal of the portal.
Geez, that looks at least 60 feet across there. Do you think we can make it? Let the players decide. That's cool. I've had players bring in stuff too.
Exactly. If you say it's dangerous, now the player's not gonna just jump over it like, it's gonna be fine. Oh, the game master said it's dangerous. How is it dangerous? They try to fish for a bit more information. It's like, at 60 foot wide. You can add that detail, like, they look for bits. Is it 50 feet, 70 feet? No idea. So now they get a clear number. Too far for a simple jump.
Yeah. Wow, we're getting lots of action going on here. We must have hit some interesting points here. We've got some good comments happening in the background. We'll get to them eventually. Let's get back to Seth Skorkowski here.
Give me the same question you ask me anytime I do anything. My character could plainly see that was too far to jump. He wouldn't have made that mistake. If a player is intending to attempt something that common sense would dictate is just simply impossible to do, or they're not taking into account something that's obvious that the character should clearly know, then we clearly have some sort of miscommunication or forgotten detail at the table. And if you believe that there's an obvious detail that the player has forgotten or they didn't understand, simply put.
What's the most important thing about a role-playing game, Zolar? I know it might seem like a trick question. What's the most important part of the role-playing game?
To level up.
Okay. Is the dice the important thing in a role-playing game?
It's to have a good time.
Are the rules the important thing in a role-playing game?
No. It's the role play.
It's well, even that. It's communication.
Oh.
Communication is the most important thing about the role-playing game. And
I agree.
Okay, give it. I bust it down to like, okay, what is the pinnacle of what's happening here? It's communication. Communication, the display of information coming out of your mouth and to the player's ears, and from the player's mouth to your ears as a game master is crucial. You should always be listening, and listening for cues on what the player, how they're interpreting things, as you are saying things. You can understand if they're getting things out of context or something from how you explained it. You can give reinforcements, in descriptions a little bit more detail if you wish. If you want to interject as the game master, as a form of consciousness, to lend more understanding. But usually, if you have 4D players, the players will prompt you. So the point here is make sure that your players are vetted, that they know if they do not understand something, use your action to go ahead and further clarify. I look across that chasm and I judge, is that 60 feet down or is that 60 feet across? Very easy. Now the game master can go ahead and give you a little bit, more of a explanation on what is happening. You've explained your intention as you're gazing across there. You could say it. Hey, is that 60 feet across or is that just 60 feet down? The only thing that was mentioned, I guess, in this description is 60 feet. And I would say that would more likely coincide with a cross because that's kind of the important part.
I might still make the jump, and if the game master kills me for it, so be it, man.
As you approach, realizing that it's 60 feet across, you will have to roll in 22 or higher. There you go. The player will go, oh shit, that's going to be too hard. I stop in my tracks as I reach the edge, and I
flailing my arm, trying to regain my balance.
I didn't realize it's that high. I'm starting to get some,
It looked much closer from the tree lines. What is this?
Exactly. Players should only play in one action increments. One action increments allows the game master to, as the player's backing up to go ahead and make his, big leap, that's going to take an action. And then you can fill in more information. Keep it all in actions. And that way you have no discrepancies on where you can interject as a game master. Otherwise, if you let him do a full thing of like 3 rounds worth of stuff, then you've got you've got no way to get in there and kind of lend that forewarning, that visual forewarning that it may be impossible. And just give them the chances. That's your best way to say, this is going to be impossible.
Yeah, as a game master, if I have a character, the player literally says he's gonna do 4 things. He talks to his buddies, like, let's do it. And then I leap across the chasms, like, before you leap, it becomes evident that chasm is 60 foot wide. It's like, okay, I just cut in there because as a game master, you still don't want to kill your player's character.
No, you don't.
To a stupid thing that was supposed to be obvious, but like went way over his head, or he didn't pay attention, or you forgot to mention it in time. Like that thing happens all the time. So yeah, if it's literally life or death, I'm okay to let me cut into your daisy chaining actions and drop in a piece of information before you advance.
Yes.
I do it anyways. Yeah. Okay, fine. Let's go.
Once again, that's the reason why you don't go ahead and take your turn and you say, I do this and this and this, and in order to circumvent anything that could happen in those, in those 3 actions that I'm espousing here. No, you don't.
Any future chasm that appears before me, I will jump over it.
Yeah. So make sure that your players know that to keep it in 1 action increments every time they do something or have some sort of motion in the game, they have to keep that context in their head. And that's very important. And it has to be a rule that's kept all the way through all of your everything you do, even when it's communicating. You're still thinking in rounds and stuff like that. So when you're doing communications, like, it's no fighting now. Now we're just having communications. Make sure you keep that circle going around, making sure your players are all participating and you're getting input from all of them, because all the players can go ahead and input, co-creative ideas as well to kind of, enhance the icing on this, cake of a world that you've created for them. You create the base cake and they start adding, all the little, fancy little things with extra icing and
the flourishes.
Yeah. And let them do that. Let them add to the game. I mean, this is a game where, minds are working and constructing something together. And that's the cool thing about it. Sure, we might have a slow beginning because in all of our session 1s, it's basically you're searching your character for the first maybe 20 minutes, half hour, and then after that it's like, yeah, we're rocking, right? You get into the action and stuff like that, and people are going, what? Like minds blown that this character would even think that way, and
I just love this. Session 1 is literally trying to connect the USB, and you have to turn it around multiple times before it connects. It's like,
I mean,
how can I make my character work with the group?
Yeah, but I do find it more constructive doing it the way that we do it, where you're putting on the skin and you're going through the routine of your character or whatever it is. Yeah, it may be slow, but it's a heck of a lot more entertaining to watch than just a person sitting there going, I am Jono Juniper. I am a cross between a lamb and a Little Miss Muffet. And if you can imagine those two put together as a character, that's what I'm playing. I have this bow hook that I have. It's my bow staff, and I hook my sheep with it. And I have a herd of sheep with me too, And yes, I'm a very inquisitive and blah blah blah. No, I don't want to hear that. I'd rather hear this in character, as you approach the party. A ploof of pink dress and frills and this Goldilocks looking character comes bounding out, a little girl with a bunch of sheep behind her, but this little girl looks a little strange, as if she's part lamb herself, or something like that, or whatever it is that you're.
I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to ask you to take the sheep outside of the tavern, please.
That's it.
They don't. We have paying customers here.
I look back at the bartender and go, ah. I turn myself around and I leave.
Yeah.
We're always making up shit all the time, so keep yourself on your toes. No, yeah, it's you're doing reaction. You're reacting to my character coming in. You've got the bartender. And giving. The rest of the players now have their input, and they can interact or go, ooh, this is an interesting character, or they can go, oh my gosh.
How embarrassing.
But of course,
it's funny when you say it in character in the tavern, like how embarrassing this is. It's not as funny if you say it to the player at the table. You just make them self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
Wait, I did that? Oh no.
Oh boy. Okay, let's get back into here. Okay.
Put that in the question.
You can choose to raid the caravan, or you can choose to.
I hate, this fake AI stuff that pops up here.
You get two choices in your ad.
Stupid.
Okay. Yes. So you're going to try to jump across a 60-foot wide gap. 60? Oh, never mind. I misheard that. So, yeah, my character's going to do something else. This not only saves time, but also...
How would you do that? As you issue out a correction,
Yeah.
The 60-foot cavern before you, and then you as a player can go, I stop in my tracks all of a sudden. Come to a screeching halt at the edge of the cliff as the edge of the cliff cripples away. The little stones fall to their deaths.
Knocking off pebbles into the chasm, into the black abyss.
I run my hand across my forehead and go, I almost killed myself there. I don't think I can go across this, guys.
The guy behind you ramps into you as he doesn't have the reflection time you did. And you both fall over the edge.
Yeah, if they're all going at once, yeah, exactly. Something like that could happen. You never know. I mean, I'm sure there would have been a group in a 4D situation. There would have been some interaction between the characters, the players themselves, in discussion about how to approach this thing. So, and they stay in character when doing that. So it's like, you hear the discussion, you hear the debate go on, and then they proceed. Debate goes on too long. Hey, throw in a push. Now a giant spider starts coming down this side of the cliff. And, it's like, oh, delicious. Comes down, trundling, trying to grab its next meal. Tries to snag at one of the unsuspecting dwarf henchmen and uses it as a meal before you.
And everybody's like, push. Another thing that I like that Flame Zombie did in our first Pathfinder session last week, like time advanced. Like 2 hours went by. Now it's dark. Now all the tavern goers have left to go home. Now the barkeep is coming out. Wait, you're still discussing if you want to go or not? I mean, you're making a bit of noise. It's fine if you want to come back in and sleep for the night, but...
Right.
Yeah, it's like, you're still out there? The world reacts that they're still going.
Well, it's
still discussing at the clip. Yeah, the moon hangs up across the sky.
yeah. Explain the background to him. Tell him that the time is going by and all this shit. That's part of your job is to keep the time and explain what's happening around the world about them. That's your job as a game master. And you do it in a narrative way, of course. And once again, do it like a book would, or a TV movie or something like that. Don't put yourself in the actual situation as a game master. You are not presently there. You are just there to go ahead and narrate and to embody the NPCs, and you are also there to adjudicate the die rolls. So you give the players the chances that they need in order to make a successful roll. That's all you are there for. You're not there to go ahead and be this, instrument of bouncing questions off. Sure,
Yeah.
you can ask questions, but you have to ask them with your action. Reason why we do that. Yeah, and the reason why we do this is to keep you in your head, in the head of the character, the head and eyes of the character. Obviously,
And that is the difference between how we would GM this moment compared to Steph's example of he breaks characters, so you're sure you won't jump over the 60-foot chasm, and the player is now out of the moment of like, oh wait, 60 foot wide. Oh no, that's suicide. I'm gonna try something else, and then he goes back into character.
Yeah,
but you can remove that moment of having this out of body experience and being back at the table again.
Yes, ignore the first solution part of what Seth was saying there. Get your out of character out of there, and only do it in character, right?
And it can be done. It can be done.
It can. It always
too complicated.
We've been doing it for
years,
for a year now or two. And I mean, I used to do a bit of it. Like I used to keep in character all the time when I was playing at Ted's, and when you get away from that, you can end up turning to the dark side and becoming Seth Skorkowski, and start directing the players and getting into the characters, businesses all the time. I try.
Character would know that the cliff 60 foot wide. It's like, don't go into my mind. Just describe the cliff as I run towards it.
Describe it. All right,
running towards the cliff, it becomes evident the cliff 60 foot wide. It's the same thing. It's just a little different, and you're not invading the player's mind anymore.
Exactly.
Also, arguments and hurt feelings. I mean, yes, it is a funny story to read about online or even look back on years later after the fact, but it is a miserable experience to play, and it'll ruin a game, and it's not worth it for what's clearly a player's misunderstanding or a game master's miscommunication. So if the player is attempting something that is clearly a bad idea, repeat why the character would know this is a bad idea. Most especially...
I just realized the only time Ted has ever kind of done something like "Are you sure?" in the games that he was running was anyways, here's the situation. Velgar Bloodflight, Warrior Chaos, and breakfast cereals was me, and Stuart was playing this guy named I can't remember his name. He was some sort of evil cleric. Evil cleric. Like this guy was, and his friends were like Sodom Noom Spot and this other guy, and they were just real creepy. And the two other guys were NPCs, but Stuart was an actual player character, but he was kind of like the leader of these guys. And I had separated from my original group of players, and I'm like off on my own with this weird, a cleric mage combination. This is second edition D&D, and Stuart sees this, finds this hole with a rope leading down, and the hole goes deep down. It opens up into a big complex down below, but we can't see how far it is. It's just so utterly dark and everything. So Stuart goes over and leans and takes a look down the hole. And as he's doing this, I look at Ted. I go, And Ted looked at me like, like,
Are you sure you want to be a dick right
he,
now?
he
It's
just
like,
he just
yes.
gave me the look. He didn't say, "Are you sure?" And I'm like,
yeah, it's the look.
So down goes his character. I swerve around. I strike at the other guy. They both go down. Then I end up climbing down by myself into the darkness with a torch in my teeth. You know, that was that. You know, shit like that happens. I mean, it's you know,
it happens all the time.
I killed a fellow player character, but you know, he was. There was no way I was gonna, you know, even as my character, you know, I may be chaotic myself, but I'm not into like, you know, hanging out with guys that would murder me, you know, at a glance. And that's what I kind of felt like, is like, it's me or them, you know. It was getting to that kind of thing, you know.
Like the player gave you that vibe of,
yeah,
he's gonna look for an opportunity.
Stuart always played those kind of characters, so it was very evident that this could be done very easily, and you know, he was kind of used to having his bad guy characters that be trounced down by semi good guy characters.
Yeah, viewers, this is what PvP at a role-playing game looks like. You all sit at the table, we gotta go on an adventure, and everybody has knives behind your back, looking for an opportunity to be the first to stab.
Stuart gave me this really look like, you asshole. Like, I don't know, you did give me a choice, right? You know, like we were discussing it at the end of the game, and he was, we had a laugh. We played together in games after that a lot, you know, as well.
Oh, good.
We've never had any issues. But you know, he realized I can't play an evil character around Rick's character. He's not that way, right?
He's not into that.
Yeah. There was but you know, to his point of view on his character, he did view me as being a bad guy, because that I was kind of an outlaw, right? But it was an outlaw by happenstance, right?
Like,
you know,
are you a lawbreaker, or do you just not obey the law? Like, how far does it go? I don't know, man. He's gonna stab my back. What?
I knew this character didn't have my back, so you know, I wasn't. But I could understand how he thought my character may have been evil, but you know, he's not an evil character. He just has his own motivations.
He just had to kill him to stay alive.
I had to kill him to stay alive. You know, that's all I could think of. You know, it's just you know, I tried to read. You know, how old was I back then? Probably about 20. 25, 26, 27. So, you know, a
young fellow.
You know, been around a bit, and, you know, worked and done my, I've experienced life a little bit. So I kind of know the reactions and who to hang out with and who not to hang out with and who to avoid. So, you know, in my older mind, in that sense, you know, not being a 13-year-old or 11-year-old, you know, you expect that a lot back then. You know, you're always going to have, you know, where characters are always punking each other's characters during the game and stuff like that. That occurred a lot when you're in your early teens, kind of thing. But when you're older, you kind of rely on what you expect of other people in the real world to be kind of similar to what you're, you know, expecting it in the game. So yeah, you know, everybody has their own kind of points of views and stuff. We never took any of this, like, you know, seriously against each other. I mean, if they had killed my character, you know, be it, you know, in a game, that would be fine. You know, that would be finally the end of Valgar, and I could go play something different. You know, and that's all I could.
Okay, what if we play characters that liked each other? What it's like? Interesting idea. I never thought of that before.
Yeah. Well, you know, not every group is going to be like, you know, synchronized and, you know, like moving around like you know, like the
Like
I
a
don't know,
unit.
the Power Rangers or whatever it is. There's got to be some sort of interesting strife going on between the players that make it interesting. Just like the Seven Samurai, Samurai 7.
Oh, yeah.
Magnificent Seven. You're gonna have different personalities, conflicting with each other, but they're all working for the same goal. And yeah, it works. Sure. Dude over here is a guns, hardened gunslinger, has no soul left into him, and just kind of stares off into the distance whenever he kills somebody, and slowly slinks his gun back into his holster after the deed is done. That sort of thing. You just have to go on. Sure, he's cold-hearted and everything, but there's a reason for it. And using your ability of anchoring can go ahead and emphasize a lot of this in order for you to example and explain to the observers, which are your other players and the game master, the reasons why you're that way, and kind of giving clues to all this kind of stuff. And I think that's cool. I mean, he does. Seth goes into a little bit of the, maybe the brain explain kind of thing here, which we're kind of talking about here with anchoring. He does get into that too, but he approaches it in a different way where it's out of character kind of stuff. But we do it as anchoring, which is using your action to kind of explain your demeanor and everything as you're doing something. It means a lot. Believe me, if you're playing first person through the eyes of characters, it means a lot. So,
how many times does a player at a role-playing table showcase his character that's not just talking? Like, I love moments where I can say, I hesitate before I do an action, because to showcase my character is unsure. Like, a situation is happening, he doesn't have an answer right on the spot of what he wants to do. I hesitate, and often that's enough. Or if it's not like in a combat round, I say that and leave a couple seconds, and then I give an answer. I don't think you want to pull that revolver. You don't want to point the business end of your revolver in my direction. Or come up with a line, come up with a response, and I raise my hand like, let's not get hasty here, boy.
Yeah, I as a player, I come up with a lot of that kind of stuff before I even play. So I have an idea of how he's going to be and stuff. So I'll write down a few like catchphrases or something, on a piece of paper to kind of give me the idea of how this character's going to. And you know me, I do sometimes use the voice, like a character voice. When I'm talking, I'm going to talk like this, and you're going to have nothing to do with it as another player. You're just going to have to accept that's the way I talk, And I embody that character that way.
What do you mean I'm putting on a voice? That's my voice.
Yeah.
How insulting.
Or
let's pull out another cigarette and smoke it down in one puff.
Right. Yeah. There's you can go overboard, of course, but we just do what we do in kind of a not an overbearing way. You don't go overbearing unless it's one of those games where everybody's playing an overbearing character, and I can play Woody Woodpecker and do the and drive you guys crazy all the time as I pull up my mallet and start smacking people over the heads. With that's if you're playing cartoons and stuff like that, you're playing cartoons. That's the characters. They're going to be overwhelming, overbearing, and be full of hijinks and slapstick that drives everybody crazy. So let's go back.
When I realize myself, okay, it's getting a bit too much. My players are like starting to cringe at the table.
Yeah, the eyes roll.
Yeah, they roll back. I switch to, and I cackle maniacally, driving everyone around me crazy.
I mean,
as I pull out the mallet out of my pocket and hammer him over the head.
Didn't we get a little bit onto the as in our last episode of Shadows in the Stars? There's me and you, and we were cackling evilly to each other.
I was thinking, like, at the moment, I was thinking, Rick, why are we going stereotypically evil Russians now? I don't understand. There was no reason to love this evil. But I want to, okay, I'm joining in. I can't let Rick hanging out there. It's like, there's another thing. I have to. Now I have to.
I liked it. It was a nice touch, and yeah, I fed into it. So.
It was funny.
Yeah, it was good.
It was funny.
It was good. So I didn't really mean it to sound funny, but yeah, I figured since you were laughing, I would laugh along with you, kind of like.
True.
Too monotone. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. I mean,
okay, they're evil, but now they want to help at gunpoint. It's like, wait, who's the bad guy here?
He'll help with conditions. No, that's what I had written down was he will help, but with conditions.
Yeah.
That's all you need to make a character more lively. It just makes things interesting. Okay, back to this guy again. Sorry, folks. Back to the main attraction here. Seth Skorkowski himself, master of everything. D&D.
Especially if the consequences for doing this action are pretty severe. Now, I admit I can give a little leeway on this one if the consequences are simply silly, maybe a little bit embarrassing for the player character, but never for anything that would have serious, injury, imprisonment, or even death. Okay, so now that we've covered the popular but not very useful question that game masters might ask, let's talk about some effective questions that will improve your game. But first, a word from our sponsor, World Anvil. Whether you're making a tabletop campaign or writing a novel, World Anvil is the what do you do?
What do you do?
If you want the performance of stainless steel, the versatility
that's the second question.
I'm gonna watch another advertisement.
What do you do?
Gonna buy product.
That took me an embarrassingly long time to learn. I did it periodically, but never as a conscious strategy that I would think about that I should be asking. It wasn't until that I read Cult Divinity Lost, which promoted asking this question, that it really clicked with me, and it has been super successful. I brought it up in my video dealing with blurters, but essentially, when a game master introduces a scene or narrates how something has changed or a new piece of information has been revealed, end that with, what do you do? As Todd steps toward the idol, there's a click, and the stone door begins lowering across the entrance as water begins pouring into the room. What do you do? Asking what do you do serves several functions. First, it's a good signal that the game master is done talking and the players can now speak. So
it also inserts the game master as being a persona in the game.
It's even worse than I thought, Rick. Before, he didn't even consider asking the players what they should do. Now he gives them a choice to respond. That's how evolution. Like, no! Guys, you have to understand. You're one of 4 or 5 people at the table. What they should do is implicit in the social contract. Don't take it away from them just to give it back. No.
That's right. Yeah. Once again, this leads the game master into being like personified in the game as if he was something physical in there. And you don't want to do that. You just want to keep the game master as a narrator or the embodiment of the NPCs. That's the only way you should be communicating to the players. It's through narration, as in not a personal narration, as in a matter of fact. This is your vicinity. This is the tools you have to work with. Being a table, a chest, or a bunch of swords in the corner, whatever it is, a barrel. You just give them the things that they can work with currently within the vicinity. Everything beyond vicinity, think of that as something that you need to get, to walk towards in order to have an interaction or to get further information from. That's what I try to instill with my players is that, whenever I describe vicinity, it's everything that you can possibly work with. And, if you add embellishments to it, that's cool. But me being in there as a person in the game, don't ever think of me as being that type of thing, whatever it is done.
And I have a different problem with that. I totally agree with you, Rick. A different problem with that is every time you say, what do? You signal to the players that they have been in a cutscene. So they're not supposed to do anything until a cutscene is over and the game master says, what do? And you create passive players with this language. They're only allowed to be active when you give them the signal it's time to become active.
Exactly.
Or it's time to boot up and to interact with what's in front of me.
Yeah. The signal. So I usually go through my table. I range everybody from, so if I'm playing a fantasy kind of thing, I know that the usual rules are that people that can, shoot arrows or casters will go first. Okay, that usually is how the mechanics of the game goes. Usually, any kind of range will go first. It'd be spellcaster or arrow slayer. So I usually arrange my table so that they're situated so I can go through the round of them a little bit easier.
Okay.
So anybody that usually shoots something or has higher dexterity, I put them at the beginning of my table and go around. So it's always kind of a circular. It keeps my brain into it and everything. You'll see me do that with. If you're in one of my games and you see me flipping everybody around in the circle of people that are in here, you'll see me flip people around. I'm arranging them by either higher reflexes or dexterity bonus or whatever it is. So I'll usually arrange them that way. So I can usually gauge who I will indicate as the person that kind of starts. So I'll usually say with just to get the ball rolling, I'll say the character's name, and that will give him the idea that he's in the camera frame right now, and he can go ahead and take with it. But a lot of times, a lot of characters will speak up, and I allow that in order for them to kind of conjure up their thoughts or whatever it is that they're going to bring to the table and state whatever it is. So that may kick out that kind of order, but it's okay because the person is just speaking they're speaking up, they're presenting their idea. So I'll go from them and then go around the room from there on. So, but when it's a combat situation, I'll usually start with the person that's got the highest dexterity, or they're going to be usually casting a spell or getting an arrow notched. Because if you read through the rules, that there's certain things that you have to consider going first in some role playing games. Sometimes they don't have that weapon speed or whatever it's called. So you can ignore it then. If that's the case. But, I try to make it logical, as logical as I possibly can around the table, so that when it's time for players to start toiling in their rounds, and they always have the option, if they can't think of anything, they can defer their turn. I
hesitate.
Yeah,
I
hesitate. I ponder
later. What do we do? It's just freaking out.
Sure, exactly. You want to do something on your turn.
Yeah, the dragon swoops in from the horizon and approaches closer and closer as you can hear the whip cracking of the wings in the air. I've frozen in place for a couple of turns until somebody gives me something to do. I'm just like, oh my god, it's a dragon! I run under the car, scurry underneath it, hide my head. I enter this position. Now we can go to the next character.
I'm allergic to dragons.
I enter my fetus stance. There we go.
Oh boy. Oh, let's go here. There we go. I keep on clicking the wrong one. I'm usually by myself here doing this, Sonalar, so please excuse me for not including you in the first click.
No worries.
Once you get everyone used to the fact that you're going to end many statements with "what do you do," it serves as a subtle way to help cut down on your players just
Subtle?
interrupting you every single time you try to take a breath. Not 100% effective.
What was that, Sonalar?
How is that subtle? You're literally telling them what they should, what they are
What
going
do you
to
do? I'm giving you some subtle information. What do you do?
I swear, the gaslighting in the role-playing community has gone too far. They don't. Please, I understand what he means compared to what he used to play like and what tables he used to be in. This is subtle, but you don't have to live in that world. You can leave Plato's cave and experience the whole world outside. I needed to get that out. Like, please.
It's okay. I think we all go through a little bit of trauma whenever we watch these things. Like, oh my God, this reminds me of the time when the game master used to do all the things for my character.
It's the moment in Akira when you get the pain in your brain. You get the flashbacks to the old sessions he used to play when he asked you, "What do you do?" Like,
I just look at my games from 2 years ago and I go, oh,
yeah.
The migraine again. Oh no.
Unfortunately. Second, it's a call to action. Game masters, you've probably been there. You describe a scene, you lay it out, and when you're done, you're met with silence. The players are just staring at you quietly, and it takes them a bit before they react.
We get a lot less of it because I think the players are clued in now. Like when you're playing with 4D players or 3D 4D players, they'll know they know when they can quip in. They're very. I think a lot of them are former game masters too. So when they have the expectations in there too. So they clue in quite a bit more than say just a new
and
player.
It loops into my previous point of every time you ask them what do you do, now they wait for the signal the next time around.
Exactly.
And you train them to listen to those words. Instead, like what you could do of, okay, like sometimes you're gonna have these moments where I have to describe the whole room because we got all the minis prepared, like it's gonna be a boss fight or something. So don't be afraid to jump in and describe your action when you're ready, when you hear something of like, oh, I'm gonna react to this right now. Because the world doesn't stop. Like I'm still describing, so we want the game master to have his time to lay out the scene.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean he gets your permission to, to describe the whole monologue of the evil villain, going through 3 paragraphs of things he has to say.
Right.
When I was a child, my mother abandoned me. It's like, that's it. I'm fucking throwing out the lightning bolts, okay?
The game master must abide by the same structure that the players are confined to. And that is do it in 1 action segments. So if you are going to start off a character, doing his dramatic monologue, okay? So this is the way we do it. The great big bad evil guy in his purple robes and garments swoops across with his garments in an angle. It says, I declare that the next man who crosses this threshold will die an evil death of disintegration. And that's all you have to do. It's just one action. Okay. You allow the say is 6 seconds of whatever, or 10 seconds, depending on what game you're playing, or the actions are. And let him do this thing. Now the players can go ahead and start doing what they're going to do, and and then you parlay back and forth.
It's a perfect opportunity for the spellcaster. Like I suddenly renew my mage armor over my skin as it shimmers and disappears like a suit of plate mail. and then shimmers away. And the rogue I hide behind the barbarian and look to get behind the barrels. And people start setting up, they get into position, and the leader's like, what do you mean you challenge me? We are here to stop you. Cut it with the nonsense, buddy. You've been caught. We all know what you're about.
And then now that I've heard everybody's, rhetoric back, now I can go ahead and continue on. Once again, you will be destroyed by my hand. And evil glow comes from it. Now, the players can go ahead and keep on going on. Whatever it is that you have for a monologue, just keep on going on with it, just as long as you keep within that framework of one action.
It's game over. I jump in with the sword, wow.
Yeah.
There we go.
Everybody has to remember that it is you still have to abide, even as the game master. You still have to abide by the how the mechanics works. Be it one action per round. You stay one action per round for all your NPCs. So same thing.
And to give because there will be criticism. Where are my sunglasses? Hold on, I got it. But Rick, the game is gonna slow down to a crawl if we always do one action each at a turn. Right? and to that, I will answer this other guy's question that just showed up on stream.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The players can use a turn to say, I cross my arms and wait for him to finish. And that's one sentence, and that's your turn. And that's more than enough to give the game master permission to continue his spiel, because maybe he had something that he wanted to say, to add, to make the scene a bit cooler, to give you guys the information you guys wanted to know. That's going to help you justify actually put him down to the sword, right. At the end.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Seth does have a good radio voice. He should definitely do. I mean, he's got some great characters. I just wish that if he played in a game, he wouldn't just default to being a goof. I would rather see him be in character and just say his action and do something constructive in the game. Because every time I see him playing a game, he's just there to crack jokes during his turn. And that's all you hear. And then he goes ahead and uses a cross-talking. So he'll talk out of his turn in a reflex to whichever player's playing right now, even though he's a player and not a game master. I've seen, and he'll inject jokes that way too. So he's
I'm a player. I get to make all the jokes now, make fun of the game master's game.
Eating up all this time by doing jokes and doing crosstalk. Everybody else is doing crosstalk. And then very soon you realize, suddenly I'm in Matt Mercer territory where it's taking me an hour to get through all of the players in one round because there's so much cross-talking and everything. Where we have proven in 4D, 3D and 4D that you can get lots of turns done. It just keeps on going. Your action is going on. You are performing through a cinematic experience going on through here. If you have, if you want to proceed ahead, you just say, I proceed ahead. Whatever the catchphrase is that you use for you and your players to understand that your players want to continue on the route and carry on. You can do that. You have these little catch words that you use during your game or stops that you can allow your players to interject their words in. When you're playing with 4D characters, everybody clues into these things because they're all listening. they're not scatterbrained and going, can you redo that what was that happened? I didn't catch that. You get a bunch of that stuff going on.
Even a little difference of I've performed something similar for the Lich's Drags that I ran for Mr. Max and the other guys, and especially when I wasn't too sure about how to make turns. I've been playing with Conway, Mr. Max, and Yakrep for the first time in those.
Right.
in that setting. As we got more comfortable, I got a bit more lenient, but I would say corn pop. And then Mr. Max actually reacts what his character would do.
Right. Yeah.
And have it that
Yeah.
omelet, red bastard, corn pop.
I'll do that. Yeah, I do that too. Yeah, in order, especially when there's a somebody goes, that's my hour and a half warning. So just to let you know. But yeah, I do that in order to keep that. I try to default to the fastest character first and continue on exactly how I explained it before. And yeah, that's how I defer like a combat kind of thing. But anybody can actually just interject, and then I'll continue from that character onwards in order to see if there's anything extra to be said. But you'll always let the entire group have a say before you start spewing out more information for them as a reaction to what's happening.
So they have a chance to react.
They have a chance. They have a chance. Yeah.
Sometimes a player can get cut short of, this player has something cool to say, and the game master tunes into that, like, oh, that's cool, let me react. Like, no, you have 3 other players at the table. He might also have something cool to say, but now, the other player got all the wind, Now,
with the players trying to come up with a plan or something like that, often I'll see the players start going out of character and start talking to each other, and it becomes I would say the solution to that would be stay in character and create a conversation in character with your other characters, the other players, and come up with a plan that way. Or if it's one of those, you've been playing for say an hour or something like that in 4D, that can be a little taxing sometimes, right? You play for an hour, give everybody a break, step away from the table, and perhaps the players can go ahead and have their conversation, out of character conversation, and laugh and yak about the game that had been currently going on. They can have that time to do that, and then when you get back to the table to play once again, in session, you can go ahead and do that. You don't necessarily see that with us, with us playing in live stream, because you don't have that luxury of that break. So we usually go gung ho and all plow all the way through for the 3rd hour or whatever it is, 2 hours, 3 hours. But if you're going to have a session where they're trying to make plans in character, keep it in the rounds, keep it going around, keep on having, players, go back and forth and stuff, but also include everybody else. Because even though the maybe 2 characters out of the 4 that are in your group are talking, you still have to give those other 2 players, some sort of leeway or a nod to let them have their turn as well. And
exactly. Yeah, you can see this happening in my Pathfinder game session 1. We are entering the tavern, and I play a dwarf monk. Yep. I decide to take a bath. Like, I'm not ready for dinner. I need to wash. We've been out in the wilds for weeks at this point, and it's a luxury that my dwarf could not have had for a long time. So I let the other players take multiple turns between each other and the game master in the tavern, like eating something, talking back and forth.
Great.
And I did not say anything because I was waiting for a moment to cut in, but the game master, he was so invested that he forgot to oh wait, there's a dwarf here somewhere. But I was okay with that. If it bothered me, I would have cut in sooner. But then when I did cut in, it was I described the moonlight shining through the open window, and a few candles lighting my naked body as I wash myself and clean off all of the dirt. And it created a very moody scene in the stark contrast to the bustling tavern that I really enjoyed. It's like I did not need more than that, of like 1 or maybe 2 turns to describe what I'm doing. Now we can go back to the tavern of what they're up to.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. when there's a separation of characters, and then it's good to have maybe a couple of rounds, so it satisfies your response, reply, or whatever that may be going on with any kind of game master or NPCs.
You can have the short dialogue that goes back and forth, and it's like, okay, that's enough. Let's go to the other player.
Back to the other guys, and now they're doing their turns. But that has to be, you still have to give everybody their allotted turns. Sometimes we're not infallible. People do get skipped occasionally, and it does happen. But
hey, you skipped in line. Like I have more to say. So get behind me.
All right. He's almost done with this. What do you do?
Yeah, or begin formulating a plan. So ending your statements with "what do you do" serves as a prompt and a sense of urgency because you've asked your players a question and now they need to answer that question. It's a very simple trick, but extremely effective at keeping the game moving. Now, I have seen some online discussions and people who don't like the question, and their criticisms seem to mostly boil down to complaining about game masters who either end every single sentence they say with "what do you do," overusing it to the point that it has not only lost its impact, but it's just become irritating. Or game masters who demand immediate action. They must commit to an action right now, versus letting the players ask questions or discuss their plans together. So game masters still allow your players the opportunity to clarify any information or plan a decision. The question is merely the prompt to get them started talking.
Not out of character. Not out of character, though.
Yeah, do not. And really, it's not. If you guys want to play that way, I'm not gonna join that table, or I will tell you, like, that was boring, or those parts of the game was exhaustive. Having to sit there as the other players want to ask their 60 questions before they're ready to make a turn.
Right. Yeah.
Like, brother, I was here to have fun, guys. Come on, what are we doing here? That's I understand it from the point of, okay, they should act. So go now. It's like really trying to push the players into action. They can take a turn that's just, I hesitate, look around, seek for more information before I act. Like, that is still in character, what their character would do.
Right.
And I look around, I see how many enemies there are, how many weapons are drawn, or are people standoffish. And that could be a perfectly fantastic turn, but the time can keep moving too.
Exactly. So now the game master would interject and give you more descriptive, keeping it very brief, of course, but giving you the necessary information that you were asking for, and then carries on with the rest of the group. And then you must include everyone all the time. And of course, we're looking at this in a 4D kind of view. I mean, if we were looking at this as a 2D, 1D thing, this would be run of the mill every day. What would you do? I don't know. What would you guys do? And back and forth and all that stuff. Yeah,
Is there a mage in the enemy party? Can I identify a mage?
Seth is speaking from a point of view where he does not know 4D. He does not know that this is out here. He does not know that this is the way you get the best immersion, and how you get the most freedom for your characters. He doesn't know this yet. So he's speaking from a point of, he doesn't know that there's all these other options. So what does he do? He gives you the best answer that he could give as a 2D game master. This is how you would do it.
It's a solution to a problem that we have solved by creating a framework of 4D roleplay. When we say, oh, it's 4D roleplay, we already know, okay, I don't need to ask the game master questions. I can interact with the world to get the answers. Exactly. And because of that, I know the game master is not gonna fuck me over just for fun because I forgot to ask the right question. He's gonna give clues if he can. And if something happens abruptly, it's because he already considered it as the characters, they would never see this one coming because of how the spell works or what the villain was thinking.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on with this.
Next, in the
Mm.
second layer behind what do you do is what is your intent? Or simply, what do you want? Sometimes it's not enough to know what action the players are taking, but why and what outcome it is that they're
Yeah.
hoping for. Soldiers rush into the tavern, their swords drawn. The captain steps forward and sneers, "You're under
Okay.
arrest." What do? They're all clustered in the middle of the room. Is there like a big chandelier above them? Yeah, why, yes, there is. And the rope to lower that chandelier down so they can light the candles, is that tied off anywhere near me? Yeah, it's on the wall right here near you. Cool, then I'm going to whip out my dagger and slice that rope and drop the chandelier on him.
Advertisement.
Yeah. So, anyways,
You can achieve all of that thing in 4D. You co-create the chandelier. You co-create the rope. I look around and I spot a chandelier over the soldiers. I whip out my dagger for the rope, holding the chandelier in place, try to hit it. And the game master can say, like, well, I did not expect the chandelier to be there. I will let him roll, but it's going to be moderately difficult because the rope is pretty thin. Or maybe it's hard to see.
yeah,
Like, you do the
or
rope.
maybe it's not in exact position. You may only get a couple of guys. I mean,
The guy at the edge.
yeah, everybody's eyesight is it's infallible. So when you're
Yes.
judging distances and stuff like that, it's all through experience and through repetition that you understand, what the chances of stuff happening. You can get a best guess, if it would work. But as a game master, I give it to him, definitely. But he explains here his intent wasn't to go ahead and kill everybody, which he was like doing the Kidstone Cops where he wanted to capture everybody, and his intent was not to kill anybody, which he rolls here. Let's continue for this.
Oh man, so it drops on him and kills 2 of them, blood and brains everywhere. A third one is unconscious, and the captain is staggering around moaning, and it looks like he's stunned. I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted to drop the chandelier and capture them in a metal ring like the 3 Musketeers. Oh.
Tone, right? That's tone.
Yeah, this would be the tone of this would be decided before you even started the game. This would be all in your session 0. Which reminds me, there's a guy, his name is Fluffy Demon.
Okay.
Heard of
So what
Fluffy
a name.
Demon? Yeah, he's more into the furry kind of stuff, I think. But he's a new guy that's been showing up, and I've got a couple of his videos lined up, and I have to say his insight on this kind of stuff is pretty interesting. I'll have to do a separate video on there, but something I'll send you a link on the Discord there, Zonlar, sometime, some interesting stuff with this guy, and but it relates to a lot of this kind of stuff on intent and intention. He argues that the session 0 is a nothing burger. You shouldn't have a session 0. It's irrelevant. And
I don't need to talk to my players to know what they want.
Yeah, I know
just
what
read
they
their
want.
minds.
Yeah. But he sees the session 0 as not that. He sees it as being more of the X card and stuff. Those kinds of declarations and stuff like that. You're saying what's allowed and what's he's thinking that way. He's not going into the context of we're co-creating this world. He doesn't realize we're doing like a microscope, which if you people out there, once again, microscope is a good way to go ahead and co-create. It's a PDF that you can download from DriveThruRPG. Microscope is awesome for having an outline of how to put together a world with your players. So. And Microscope also includes rules that you can play it at the same time. And I think I've displayed this with Shauner on a video as well, long time ago, when we were first exploring Microscope together, and came up with some interesting insight about it and how we could use it with 4D and stuff. So,
Microscope is a good time.
Yes, it's definitely a good it's a good outline to cover for your session zeros when you're creating the world and stuff. But yeah, this Fluffy Demon has an idea that this session zero is not this co-creative kind of thing. He's thinking more of it's like the rules being lined out, and how you bring out your X card and stuff like that. I think that's what he's thinking, because I'm like, oh, I don't understand what he's talking about when he's saying certain things, because he's making the session zero sound like something that isn't a session zero. So.
Yeah, it could also be like experience of, oh, that's what that guy did when he ran session zero for me. And maybe that guy like completely missed the point of, like, some people show up, okay, I'm doing the session zero, in which case I will tell you all the rules I'm enforcing on you guys. And you just have to accept it.
He does, the Fluffy Demon guy, he does give it a good example of how he could use like he uses more of a like a what is it called when you look back, when you kind of go back in time, and now you're kind of getting to that point where your characters get together before you actually are, so he introduces something like that where you have a thing where the characters meet each other and tries to create these situations
like a flashback,
flashback,
how you met.
So he does it in flashbacks, and so I mean, I can understand where we could use flashbacks in the session zero, of course, in order to create these kind of different things. I did that with my daughter Chloe. She didn't have enough money to go ahead and purchase like the thief tools for her elf assassin. So I made her go through a little adventure in order to get the thieves tools. So that was kind of like our little flashback, and this is how she met Kai, who's her brother, real life brother. So Chloe and Kai are my kids, and so I had Kai and Chloe introduced that way in kind of like a flashback, which worked out really well because it gave them a little adventure to play through while there was just a few of us, and then we got more players in. So my first players are already put together, and the new group came in and integrated with what was already formed, so it worked out really well.
Nice.
But yeah, I think like I say, people do have some good ideas. Like Fluffy Demon does have some good ideas, but I think his views are a little bit skewed from just playing in a 2D and not a and not with groups that have had any vetting or anything like that. That's sometimes the issue.
Well, let's see if we can reach the end of Steph's video.
Let's
there's still time.
I thought you were trying to crush them. Sometimes the player's intent is obvious. Other times, not so much. I did a whole video explaining why players should announce what it is that they're wanting. And ideally, that's the best way, because it doesn't require that the game master ask for what outcome it is that the player is hoping for, because the player has already stated what they're hoping for. But as any game master knows, players aren't always the best at communicating what it is that they want. They're really good at communicating the disappointment that they didn't get what they wanted because their game master isn't a mind reader. So, while players announcing their intent is the best option, and the second best option is that the game master develops psychic powers, the third best option is game masters just simply ask what it is the players want. It might simply be a player asking what a shopkeeper is selling, and the game master comes back with, "Oh, what are you looking for?" rather than listing off a store's entire inventory until they randomly guess whatever it is that the player is wanting. This one is really important when it comes to social interactions, when the player is wanting.
I mean, it should be, necessary that's the interaction between a salesman and their potential, buyer. Is you introduce yourself. Hey, I'm John Smitherson, best smith in the north. What you looking for there, young buck? And then, of course, the player would say,
I look around the storekeep and try to remember every single item I see.
Well, you have up on the top shelf, you have knives, daggers, little stilettos, that start rattling off stuff.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me pull up my book of stuff. There's this, that. No. Yeah. No, I mean,
Absolutely. Like, okay, so we have a scene, a classic scene, the shopping scene. You go into a store, you need to buy some stuff, but you don't know where to look. Do you really want to enter Walmart and have every item described to you? No.
yeah,
You
no.
describe toiletries in the West Wing. You can find medical supply in the East Wing. There's a bunch of food, accommodations, and they even sell some furniture at the second story or something like that. And now you have like a vague outline, and the players are like, go to the furniture corner and look for a good couch, something comfy, and then you can like go ahead and describe a couple choices.
Exactly. Narrow down.
Yeah.
You have to paint the scene in a sketch. So you give them a sketch, give them all the necessary information of the sketch. Now they can either focus in on a particular thing on the sketch and query what is in there by their actions, or they can co-create. They get the idea. Oh, this is a big Walmart. Okay, we're going over to the furniture section. Let's go, guys.
I aimlessly wander through the Walmart, putting in useless stuff I never wanted to buy that looked interesting on the moment, and end up with a full cart of stuff that I kind of wanted but really don't need.
Yeah, that'll be
play way too much.
Character 3 down the line. He's the one that's picking up stuff randomly off the shelves, putting it in the shop. His guys are going along.
If a single tier, I say, yeah. Okay, just put it on the cart. Just put it on the cart.
Yeah. You got the card. You look at the guy with the big shopping cart. What do you think I am, you bitch?
Put it back where you got it.
At least have a date before you go ahead and strip me of all my.
But it's delicious.
Specific interaction from an NPC, such as.
Yeah,
it's so much.
Wonderful commercials.
YouTube, come on.
Building this huge guard with a chrome arm steps in front of you. I can't let you in, Jumba. Boy, you do not want to test me tonight.
Good.
18 on the face down. They won that. So does the Game Master have the guard A, stand aside, B, run away with P running down their leg, or C, have the guard make a clumsy attack? He'll give him minuses because he's been intimidated. He'll choose A. I mean, he lowers his gaze and steps to the side. Yeah, they don't pay me enough for this. Dang, I was hoping to call for backup. That way we could gack 2 or 3 of the guards and get the radios.
I don't care. You made your role. You made your action. I don't care.
It's what the character did. The NPC did that. You don't have control over the NPC, right?
Yeah.
Because you're a player. And
take your fingers out of the NPC's brain. Like, take them out. They don't belong in there. We're not summoning eldritch horrors on this table.
You're given a hand that's dealt. So now you must go ahead and play further. It's the way things work. If I approach somebody, if I was still back in sales, I approach somebody, I'm like, giving a pitch to see what they're looking for and stuff like that. If they're not, adamant to even talk to me, I leave them be. I say, I'll be nearby to go ahead and answer any questions that you have. Okay, I get the feel of who it is that I'm interacting with. I don't automatically assume that my parlay with this person is going to go 100%. I never project to think that, oh, this is going to be like totally successful and work out to my favor. I'm going to be able to sell a bunch of shoes and a bunch of this and a bunch of that and maybe some insoles for us, and stuff like that. I'm thinking,
Yeah, I understand, Rick. You have to stalk your prey for a little bit first to get what they're looking for before you can jump in for the deal.
That's right. Oh, but That works because you have basic social skills. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're going to encounter some oddballs in the plethora of players that you could possibly have to join your table. Once
Indeed.
again, it is vetting. Vetting is keen. And what I look in vetting, and I do have some notes on this, which was pertaining to this. And vetting, you got to remember that, sometimes your friends don't always fit for this thing that you're doing with role play. So out of your friends, you got to pick the best ones out of those friends, and whoever comes in, you definitely want to go ahead and look over how they communicate back and forth with you. And you give them a little scenario for them to go through so you can vet them. And you say, okay, well, this is what I expect from you. And you go ahead and give them, the 4D sheet here with all your, what the player does and what the game master does.
Yeah.
And so that they can refer to it over and over. And then you give them a, back and forth so you can outline how it is that you work this parlay, this communication. You always speak from the point of I, blah, 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 blah. I, blah, 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 blah. And then I say, I don't like that, or whatever it is that your character says. Then I react, and then back and forth. I'm looking at how they work this, whether or not they have the intelligence to imagine what the thing is. Sometimes I blatantly ask them first thing, hey, how good are you at closing your eyes and imagining something? And I'll get a response, whether or not they're really good at it, or they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Then you know that they don't have an actual imagination. They're what it's called. They have anaphasia or whatever it's called.
Aphantasia.
Aphantasia.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in there too, because we do have people in our community with aphantasia, and they can role play just fine. So it can showcase in different ways. Like, okay, maybe you really struggle to imagine what something looks like, but if you've seen it before in real life, then it's easy. Like, okay, a castle. Well, in the modern world, maybe you've never seen a castle, but you've seen pictures of castles,
right?
Or you can look up pictures of castles, and now you have a reference point to draw from. That can help. And other things of, okay, you have, this guy has no imagination. Imagination can also be trained through practice by going through it multiple times, like playing more games, reading more books, enjoying more media, or going out into the world, into different cities, different countries, or just into the woods. Have you ever left your city and gone to the woods? Have you ever tried to climb that hill that you see on the horizon? Mm-hmm. That will all help you bring up new or different scenes or scenarios that you can use in the game.
A lot of people don't have traveling experience too, so you have to bear with them sometimes, right? It's just the way it is. Sometimes you just have to work with maybe more pictures to represent things, which is a great thing about AI, that it can go ahead and conjure up stuff for you. But
a classic example of, okay, how do you travel through space? No idea. We didn't go to the moon yet. Well, Jimmy, how would we go to space? What if we have the age of sail? So we have these massive galleons, but now they use solar sails instead of normal sails to use the solar powers to charge through the sea of stars. That's fantastic. That's beautiful. It's not realistic whatsoever, but who cares? It's a fantasy story. It's your story. And I find it can create very amazing scenarios that way.
Yeah. Relying on your players for additional, prompts in the game. Like, maybe I never thought about having these sailing, sci-fi ships. You're bringing in something that you want to see. Me as a game master, I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. Okay, I've never thought about that. Let's do that. Okay, now we have to get a general idea of what kind of are we doing, Starjammer kind of stuff, or are we doing more Space 1889 kind of is this what's the vibe here, and you get into brass tacks. start working.
Yeah.
stuff.
What kind of sci-fi?
Yeah.
What, are we Star Wars?
Yeah,
Are we Star Trek? Are we something
in-
completely different?
During your session 0, you can kind of pick out who's got really good, vivid imaginations, and who's going to be the one that's going to be interjecting a lot with some interesting stuff. So, session 0s can really call out who's going to be your you're going to know what kind of characters are going to be made for this. And so now kind of like how you want to go ahead and build it as a game master to make it interesting. Like we're gonna have different kinds of creatures, different kinds of bad guys, different organizations, that sort of stuff. Make some treasures, and boom, you're done. You got everything under control. You know what your characters are gonna do. You're the game master. You know what your characters are up to, what their plans are gonna be for at least the next 3 days, right? Now, whatever the players are gonna do, from session 1 on, it's all up in the air. They have the ball. They roll with it. So.
Indeed,
we're not. What's this? We're not beating the cult allegations. I know it's so broken out there, right? Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Oh,
don't forget to give me the $50 when you join the cult. So.
That's right. Join us, pay us here. Right. No, it's all free. It's all free when you learn from us. It's free.
Think about that. So for any players out there watching this, if the Game Master knows what effect it is that you're intending, you're more likely to get whatever effect that is. Not simply because the Game Master is wanting you to have a fun game, but also when the Game Master is kind of listing all the different options in their head of possible outcomes that might result to this, if they don't happen to think of whatever result it is that you're imagining, the chances of getting what you're thinking of are effectively 0. Now, sometimes the answer or result is very simple. No roll or extra difficulty required. When we're all happy because the player got what they wanted. Sometimes the desired result might require increasing the difficulty for whatever skill roll that is. So Game Master should know what the entire goal is before they call for that roll. And this really cuts down on player disappointment as well as potential arguing around the table when you announce this adjusted difficulty after the player has already rolled.
If you're unsure or unaware of your eyeglass prescription,
I'm unsure.
Or if
I'm totally unsure about my prescription now.
There's
another
great
thing.
Point.
What's that?
You can go ahead. No.
I was going to say the best cure for the best thing for imagination for me happened about a year ago, but I don't recommend doing it. But I tell you, it was a third eye-opening experience to the point that I can now do stuff like right on the fly. I used to not be able to do that. Like the only thing that I have a real problem with is trying to keep the words in my mouth to straighten out to what I want to say. And sometimes I'll end up doing the old man brain thing and flake out,
trailing off.
Yeah, but as far as my imagination went after my experience there, wow, I can do like a total improv now, like no problem, because I've managed to kind of compartmentalize my brain into it was weird. It's weird. It's but I don't recommend taking my route if you have a if you're.
I mean that's why I like the term 4D role play.
Yeah.
Because it's another dimension.
It is.
You are looking at the exact same thing, but you shift your perspective to see, I can co-create the chandelier above the group of soldiers and the captain. I can imagine things into the world that has not been explicitly described. I don't need to ask the game master questions. I can ask the world.
Yeah.
If you don't shift your perspective, it's very hard to see because it's out of your line of sight, so to say.
That's right.
You have to enter the fourth dimension.
Fourth dimension. I tell you, DMT does not hurt either. So
Doesn't hurt.
That's a direction that I say don't try, but I can tell you from my own experience, it totally changed my life after that.
And for the people there, I never did any drugs. Maybe like one puff on a doobie, with a circle of friends. That's the most experience I have. Everything else is because I'm crazy. You don't need outside influences to reach that level of roleplay.
I used to hang out with a lot of musicians, so I'm
that explains everything.
It explains everything. I've been around a lot of stuff in my young years, and it's it was rather experimental. But you can't don't experiment with the psychedelics too much unless you have a strong mind. If you have a strong mind, you can usually not come out with a traumatic experience out of it, because it can occasionally happen where you end up with some sort of weird feedback loop that happens in your head, and it can disturb you. It can disturb you for some time. And you must have a strong mind when you follow the path of me. I didn't gain these wrinkles on my face for nothing, from just not doing anything. It's just something. I can't play on it. I can tell you that. There's no way I'd be able to do any playing on any kind of psychedelics or anything. It wouldn't work. But as far as mind expansion and coming up with like the most incredible ideas that you can possibly come up with in your head, it's I don't know. You see stuff, it stores somewhere in something, and man, I can just bring it out now. It's just like I'm bringing in ideas like it's like it's hot butter. It's just like it goes through just so easily instead of being congealed in solid, right?
That's why I like to say the imagination is a muscle. It's a skill. You improve it by using it. So the more you imagine, and especially like if you have other people, that's why I enjoy playing with people, role playing with them. Every time they bring something in, it makes me light up. Like, oh, that's fantastic. That's cool. That's interesting. And it gets my imagination going, It's like, okay, it's like we go from standing at home to going on a walk to jogging to like running over mountains, jumping
exactly
from mountaintop. The ideas go crazier and crazier the more you train that muscle of what could I do in this situation? And really like having it go back and forth with the other players. That's why wedding is also important at the table. If you have a guy at the table says, that makes no sense, remove him, throw him out right now. He has to go, man.
You missed someone on the vetting sequence. Yeah. That's true. All right. Well, let's put some
I thought, dang, I was hoping it would fall off the edge and go out of sight. Okay, just increase the difficulty from an 8 to a 9 if you want to direct his fall and kind of push him over the edge. Otherwise, we can just roll randomly to see if he just happens to fall off the edge and out of sight. I hit him with an 8. You should have told me what the full difficulty was before you asked for the roll. Dude, I just didn't know that's what you were wanting to do. Well, it seemed obvious to me. So it's best for everyone when the Game Master asks what the player's full intention is before a roll is even called for. And finally, and this is one that I need to be better.
I think if you have players that have, full-on assumptions on, how the thing was supposed to play out, no, you should never assume that your plan is going to go 100% effort.
No.
I
shouldn't. Trying to push him over the edge with a nice placed shot. It's like, okay, you said like what you're trying to achieve, but you still shoot him. So I can have a reference in my mind of, is this even feasible? No, not at all. Like, it's never gonna happen. It's just a shot. The way he could crumble. Like, the base is way too wide. He doesn't know because he's standing 200 meters away, taking a shot, through a small, tiny lens. So he just falls over. And it's a question of time until the next guy's like, wait, where's Bert? They check up on Bert. Like,
Yeah, they'll probably check up on Bert on a comm system before they
Yeah.
would be like, "Oh, where's Bert been? He hasn't checked in for some time." You know, he hasn't.
yeah,
he
you
hasn't
got 3
rolled around
minutes until somebody be like, I should have been here by now.
Now
Where's
you have
the
a
guy?
push. Now you have a push. So now it's going to be three minutes before somebody's going to go ahead and try to find Bert. So your players are going to be and you can key in on this. You might hear something click on the receiver. As the guy goes down and says somebody gives off yep, Unit 3 checking in. And then you're like, oh, they're checking in once in a while. Oh no,
Nobody's answering. Yeah, it's like, what do we do? Oh, shit. Quick, we have to reach. We have to grab the headset. And
and then you hear number 3 chuck in because it's a different guy that you don't know that this isn't number 3, right? Ooh.
Wait, who's that?
Then you get the Han Solo situation where you're like, just ignore me. Sorry. Sorry. Bye. Shoot the receiver and away you go. We're expecting
that's
company.
not Bert. Okay, fuck it. Bam.
There's a lot of things that can go, that makes it into a totally different, cool situation, even though you may have failed in having that guy fall over, which was your intention. Don't worry about it. It's always going to be cool.
Yeah, plan should not be. Plan cannot be flawless.
Yeah,
something will go wrong, and the fun part is playing with that, like going with it and trying to. You get flipped, but you roll off the mat and get back up on your feet.
Exactly.
About asking around my table because the results are just solid gold every time I do remember to ask this question, and it's, how do you feel about that? This is one you have to time with an appropriate moment. Some notable victory or setback. A character kills a big opponent, or they fail to stop an assassination, or some significant event that should elicit an emotional response. Ask the player how their character feels about it. First, this prompts your players to actually think about it from their character's point of view. A little reminder to roleplay and get inside their characters' heads and actually commit to an emotion that their character feels. But it also allows the player to share this emotion.
They have to be reminded.
Have to be reminded. We have anchoring. So anchoring, you're usually espousing maybe some sort of an emotional response, be it with a keepsake on yourself, or some sort of maybe it's a memory of something that brings up as you're doing something. You can espouse that or whatever. Cool, but keep it short. Obviously, you're not the sole star of this show. You remember you have other players in here as well, so just give your little bit and move on. The other players key into this stuff. It's neat, especially when you got Crispy in your group, and he's totally into that kind of esoteric descriptions and the meanderings of what's going in his head as he's doing stuff. Cool part is you don't necessarily say what you think. You role play out how your character reacts, and you describe your body language, or you show the body language, of course, being on the screen, being seen and heard by everyone.
At the table, in person. Even the way you say things can be, oh my god, I react with surprise, or I'm really upset at you right now. You don't have to be a voice actor. You just imagine, like, how do you sound when you're upset? I go off frantically. My voice gets high pitched. It sounds hilarious, even though I'm upset. It's like, all of that helps.
Yeah.
It's like, nobody has to ask you, what do you think? It's like, oh, this guy hates what's happening to him right now, but doesn't know how to react to it. So he's becoming, I don't know the word for that. Not hilarious. Hysterical. He's turning hysterical.
everyone around the table know where this player character is now coming from as a reaction to whatever it was. I've been planning on doing a video for a while, and I very nearly did that video instead of this one, but eventually I want to make one covering how players should announce what their character's emotions or perspective is, because it makes them feel much more real to everyone else around the table if we know where they're coming from. But it also helps the character's response to certain actions and everything become a lot more understandable to everyone else once we know where that character is coming from and what emotions are coming into play here. Movies and books, we can use internal dialogue or flashbacks or music or other things to convey a character's emotions. But in a role-playing game, sometimes the best way is just to simply break that fourth wall and let the player announce what's going on inside that character's head. Because if we don't understand the complexity of emotions going on inside the character's head, sometimes maybe relating to some backstory incident, the character's resulting actions might not make sense to everybody else.
If you don't know where to start,
God damn all these commercials. This is sad. How YouTube has turned into just a collection of, this entire thing is only 16 minutes long. Like, seriously, why do you have so many commercials in it? Well,
how do you know what the players think, what they feel, what their goals are, what emotions run through their heads, even though they don't see them?
Yeah,
your role-playing game.
Exactly.
Hotel room to discover Detective Branson's body dead on the floor. The word forgiven is scrawled on the wall in her blood. Damn.
Nice.
These bastards are going to pay for this. How do you feel about this, Mike?
I don't give a shit. Get out! Leave the dungeon and disembodied head. Get out of this dungeon. You're not here. You're not. You ruined the moment.
The great floaty head.
Doesn't understand. Like, this advice is literally you ruining the fantastic scene of a friend dead on the floor, unforgiven. It's like it's all there, and it's like somebody. It's like a theater, and somebody in the stands that's watching it says, "Oh wow, I really wish to know what the actors feel about that moment right now." It's like, shut the fuck up. Leave. Throw him out.
You see it in the movie exactly how they're feeling. They don't pronounce how they're feeling. You see how they're feeling. It should be the same with your characters. They should be able to emit emotion within their voice on how they're when they're talking to other characters. It should be a case of how you feel. What do you mean, me the character or me the player? How do I feel? I feel like you should be out of my head, and as far as the character goes, he may be in shock because maybe he's never seen a dead person, first time in his life. He might be looking at it and going, "Oh," walks over to the waste paper basket by the office and goes, that might be a reaction. Another reaction might be just the look of shock on their face as they see the blood everywhere. It's helter-skelter kind of, episodic bloodbath before him just, churns into my brain and just, maybe I'm going insane. You play out that character. That's how you do it. You don't
really. Well, I'm just so baffled how 130,000 people watch these kinds of videos and think, you know what, that's really insightful. I never thought about asking the players what they are feeling right now. What is this?
There you go.
Thumbs
down.
It makes no sense, guys.
That's how I'm feeling. This is stupid. I'm not part of the 3.4K that is putting their thumbs up on this. What you're espousing here is to keep on talking out of character all the way through your games. Waste time. Waste as much time as you possibly want. You want to fill in that 8 hours full of crosstalk and jokes about Monty Python and shit like that, or references to other games.
Exactly. So you set expectations. What is this game about? We're here to role play. So say where you are, what you do, what your character says. Try to react of how you believe your character would react. And if you struggle with that, maybe do a training session. Maybe think of different scenarios. Okay, how would I react if I was a barmaid and the brawl is about to break out? Like the half-orc Rumples, like what nudges a dwarf on his way to the loo, and the dwarf takes offense, but the half orc never backs down, and what do? And you go through the motion of, oh my, I raise my hands, I cut in between them, I offer the half orc a beer because I believe he's less stubborn and more amenable to alcohol than the dwarf, who is more honorable and takes offense much harsher. And you can do all of those things to help you roleplay, to learn how do I improve my roleplay? How can I answer these questions without having to be prompted all the time? How can we remove having to ask out of the table questions to get these cool moments? Because they're not needed. They're not needed when we play the game.
Yeah. I mean, as you learn, as you play, and you get used to this, back and forth with the game master and the other players in 4D, you become more used to the way that you say things. So then suddenly you're no longer doing out of character stuff. The only thing that you say out of character is probably dice roll results or
12 damage.
Or I didn't hear that because the skip in the broadcast or something.
Could you repeat that?
Could you repeat that very quickly? Something like that. We try to keep our die rolls to being results and show us the effects basically, and we're very, very interactive with each other throughout the entire game, and it feeds you get into that flux with the other players, and it becomes this entanglement of cool ideas being brought across, and the story is going on because they're creating it as it's happening. And at the end, when we're finally done, and we're just like, oh my God, what was that? And we sit down, we're like, that was a great experience. I think I had a really great time playing that character, or if you're playing with Phil, you can go,
You ruined everything, Phil. Every time at the end of the session, yeah.
Or way, whoever you have in your group, you're gonna learn their particular types of characters they like to play and stuff. So then
I loved how you reacted to the dead body with the blood sprawled out and written in its own blood. But I hated how the game master asked you how you felt about that. It was completely unnecessary for the scene.
It's like, yeah, Mr. Game Master just pops into your head, and suddenly starts asking you questions. Yeah. We're not here to play out anybody's whatever psychological fantasy or whatever is churning them up at the time. You're not trying to do some sort of therapy. I mean, it is a therapeutic kind of thing to express yourself in a different in a different kind of mindset than normally you would have. I'm thinking in context of a dwarf now, and I'm thinking dwarfy things and dwarfy thoughts when I'm playing this character. I'm thinking as a human, when I'm trying to think of things for this character to do, but at the same time, I have to separate myself from this character. It's not me being the dwarf, it's the dwarf being the dwarf, my character the dwarf. It's you can interject a few things that maybe you personally might feel would work with this character, as in how you would feel, sure, but once again, you have to separate your character from the player, and don't go into it thinking it's therapy. Just enjoy it for its therapeutic properties of being in a role-playing game, but never think it's therapy. And this is just, how do you feel about that?
It's also, it's very easy to show it to people. Okay, you don't want the player at your table that's taking all of his emotional baggage and dumps it into his player character. So every time you try to like confront his character about it, he's getting all personal and like wells up, gets emotional about it. It's like, wait, hold on. We're playing a game here. We're here to have fun. I don't want to like treat on your emotions like that. Maybe you should play a different game with you. Doesn't have to be a role-playing game. Let's do something that's fun where you don't have to grab all of your emotions in there. I love that description. It's not therapy, it's therapeutic. It can be very cathartic to create those moments where you burst out with emotions and do something. You deserve to die. You stab the villain in its heart that secretly stabbed that raised you. It's, drive the sword up, covered in gore and blood, and then you're on your knees and weep over the dead body that you've created, but you knew you had to. It's like, we can have all of those things. That's fantastic. But I never want to hear the game master become my therapist. So how do you feel about that? As they cross their fingers and everything, like they pull up their fucking notepads and write down what I said. Like, no. Get out of my session.
Zolar needs help. Call for a professional. Yeah. No, there's a thing I do want to do is maybe do a video. And if you're up to it, maybe we can do a video together. Like not a live stream, but like an actual. Like we'll do some scenarios and stuff and some examples to kind of give people a little bit more of grip on the communication, how communication happens in the 4D game versus in like a 2D 1D game, because we have to kind of compare it to that and give you an offset idea of what to follow instead of following the directions of, say, Seth Skorkowski or Matt Colville or whoever. They're all there's only a few of us out here that actually take the role playing serious, and actually execute the communication skills in order to make that run really efficiently. So
and in a way it has to be said, I mean, it's a bit of a nerdy thing to try. Okay, what if we take our role playing game a bit more serious and focus on its strengths instead of having the Pierce and Pretzels approach of having a good time with your friends.
Right.
But it doesn't contradict each other. You can still have a great time together, but being disciplined in the role-playing game aspect of the game happening. And you have all the beer and pretzel stuff before the game, after the game.
Or during a break if you have a break. And and it's so much more fulfilling to know that you have done 10 different combat situations within 3 hours, as opposed to maybe one combat every 2 full sessions, 8-hour sessions or whatever you're having. You go through 16 hours and you finally get to finish one combat. How fulfilling is that? I feel more fulfilled in a role-playing game where we're role-playing because we get so much more done in it, as you basically unpack an entire movie in an hour and a half to 2 hours, just like you would watching a movie. So I prefer this entertainment than watching a movie because you have more control over it. You control how the character is when you're the player, and you can control the environment when you're the game master. So you can. And your players all play differently, so you can kind of pick and choose your players as like character actors, and voila, we're putting together something. It's very entertaining to listen to, you get an entire story within 2 hour and a half sessions, or 2 2-hour sessions, or maybe 1 3-hour session. It could be all done. You can fulfill a whole arc and everything within that time frame, instead of struggling, getting through the combat, which takes hours and hours.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's much more that Seth here is going to be able to say to us. since we're pretty much to the end, but I guess I could let it go on for a little bit.
It's personal now. Okay. Todd, how does your character feel about this? Well, I'm mad, but like mostly at myself, because if we had captured them at the cabin, then this wouldn't have happened. So the guilt of that, it's making me think of all my old squad mates and how they died. So it's not as much that I want revenge for this as redemption.
This is good for
Excellent.
after
What's your
the
character
session.
feeling right now? Honestly, I think that he's terrified.
Definitely talk
if they
about
found
this
her,
kind of stuff if you want to after the session. We usually do. We're like, oh, I like that part that when Phil was doing this and Max was doing that and Crispy came in with this crazy thing and boom, we did this and you can have a lot of fun.
Yes.
You can reflect and have a lot of fun reflecting on it, but that's on its own time after the session, of course.
Find us. So yeah, I think it's getting pretty paranoid. So asking how their character feels about something not only forces the player to stop and really think about what their character's emotions are and commit to some emotion that their character is feeling, possibly at a deeper level than they would otherwise, but also helps everyone else around the table understand and enjoy this character.
This is stuff that the players should be thinking about as they're playing their character, not just out of the blue. Oh, maybe I should, determine how my character feels about this whole thing. No, you should be playing on the impulse of your character. Your character is, once again, it's a totally different thing than you as a person. As you, Rick does not play the same as Alaric. Alaric is a totally different character than Rick. There's things that I would never do as Alaric that I would do as Rick, and vice versa, and stuff like that. It's things that you gotta know. But he's just at the end here. Anything to say?
It's a little detail. Oh yeah, this is a great tool to make the player stop, and I don't give a shit what comes after stop. You stopped everything by asking this question. It grinded to a halt like a red light at the street corner. It's like it's gonna take some time to pick up speed again. Like
just portray it in the role play.
Yes.
One person's barfing, the other guy is just staring, and and he describes as and through his his anchoring how he feels, where he's at, how he approaches things in the room. It all means something. It's the way people move in movies, stuff like that. Watch movies. Watch lots of movies. That's the way to expose yourself to a lot of cinematic kind of ideas, and it helps.
Just have feelings, guys.
Yes,
come on.
Have feelings in your characters.
Unless you're like one of 10,000 people who are psychopaths in that way, you don't know emotions. You just try to
imitate
them like people do. So you look at your window and you smile at yourself like. You practice that, like, okay, for you, I don't know how to help you. I'm happy you like to play role-playing games, okay? I'm cool with that. But for everybody else, try to go through the emotions with the character and realizing this is not real. It's a different universe that we all made up at the table. But how would I feel about this? And allow yourself to go on that journey. And know that you come out the other end. We decompress at the end of the session of just talking about, well, Rick, how did you feel about that session? It's like, it was amazing. It was awesome. I wasn't sure about like that evil laughter we did as the Russians, but other than that, like it just was funny though,
it was kind of. It was a little, I didn't mean for it to be over the top. It just came out that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you get those kind of moments in Alien too, like the them jibbing on Hudson there, and asking, have you ever been mistaken for a man? No, have you? Yeah. Those kind of things. Sure, there's some funny moments. There's a when that transport thing was coming down and does it starts crashing to the ground in Aliens. you know, what's his name? The corporate guy is going, well, maybe we can go ahead and, you know, make a campfire and blah, 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 and start singing songs, you know. You know, there's little quips of comedy and
shut
stuff
up,
everywhere,
Bert.
but
That's a stupid idea. Get back in line.
It's like, sure, okay, you know, you can have these little, you know, interesting quips. You know, sure, it's going to be a shocker horror kind of thing, but you know, keep it down. You know, you don't go over, you know, Keystone Cops or anything like that. You play within the context of what you're doing. Be it aliens or whatever. Let's get
the actions, much, much more. Now, this is the question that you're going to be asking the least out of the 3 questions, but it's also something that you shouldn't forget to ask because it really pulls the game into that deeper level of role play that everyone around the table gets to enjoy.
And that's it. You're fired. Move. There we go. No, Steph. No. I mean, I can understand what the point of view he's talking about, being a 2D player himself. And I mean, sure, it might help a few 2D players to kind of, you know, come up with some concepts, ideas that they may have not thought about, like actually using, you know, the emotional response that possibly your character could use. Maybe you should think about, what do you do before, you know, the game master is finished playing, or, you know, use that brief moment to, you know, conjure up in your head what the next move for your character is going to be. Maybe another character speaks up before you do, you know, and then you can go ahead and lead into your thoughts. Maybe he comes up with a thought before you do. Now you can go ahead and say, hey, I was having a similar thought to this, but maybe we should do, you know, maybe we should do this instead. You know, you're causing a conversation between the players, and it's going to play out that way. That's part of the role play, you know. It's easier when you do it the 4D way, because it's the faster way, it's the cleanest way. It comes out with the most benefits at the end, instead of, you know churning up your play and slowing it down.
And if this is a point that you struggle with, of imagining how your character would react, or you have never played those games, or at your tables everybody's throwing in jokes, and so it's hard for you to get into the world, to get immersed, and the game master starts asking those questions of how you feel about that, or what do you do. Rick here has a Discord that offers training sessions for people who want to try out 4D roleplay. So if you wish to try out how does this immersive role-playing work, how can I stay in character, you can join the Discord in the description below.
I'll throw one in the description below.
Yeah,
I will.
Beautiful. He's not. It's like, be full. Doors closed.
Yeah. No, yeah. You come in, it's free. It's free. You just, you know, if you have a Discord account, just come in. You'll be asked a couple of questions just to kind of deviate the bots out of our thing. And just go in. There's a training session section in our Discord, and just see what games are being performed, or just ask in there, hey, can somebody do a training session for me at 6 o'clock on Mondays in the evenings? Somebody may perk up, and I'll say, hey, I can get you in. Let's do that. Indeed. Don't rely on us to say, hey, we have a session. Perk up in Discord and say, hey, I want some training. I want to wear that red badge of honor that you guys have, because we color coordinate our people in the Discord.
Coveted color. I want it. I crave it.
You want the red color. Whatever.
It's just a sticker, but it also showcases of, okay, he started at least a training session, and the guy who ran it for you was happy with the result. Right.
Exactly. And then, that opens you up to, Crispy and Max and all the rest of the guys to say, oh, this guy has his red color. Let's ask him if he wants to join. We'll do that. We'll announce for people, hey, at whoever at whoever at whoever. Yep, it brings it up to them on the Discord that they're being alerted, and voila, you guys want to join this game? You say, yeah, no, hey, when's it going to be? Whatever, arrange it on
in
there.
a way, it really allows all like the players to be vetted to, okay, at least he understands what he wants out of the game. Now it lines up with our expectations. So we can be more laissez-faire, more relaxed about inviting you to the table without having, okay, but first of all, we need to run our own one-shot before I can even consider you. So it cuts through the noise to get more signal, right? And allow for bigger groups to form and how they want to play. And also, it helps that we put our stuff on YouTube. You can also watch those and be like, oh, the way Solana role plays it's hilarious, but not serious enough for me to invite him. I don't think I can do that.
Yeah, a lot of people
helps both ways.
Will watch it and may have like, oh, I'm not sure if I could do that or not, or they might not understand what's going on too, because it's played differently than a traditional role-playing game almost. It's like as in what you see today normally. And,
or maybe it looks intimidating. Like how do they do this without ever asking a question?
Yeah. I watched it. I watched a video with Crispy, and he was doing the one where everybody was doing story game. Remember the story game?
Okay.
And he had the one guy that was playing the robot, and it was very, very. He was playing it very straight laced and everything, and thinking in context of a robot and everything. But I do find that the story games kind of end up being meanderings of, kind of aimless, going off into different directions of flow with the way that they're thinking and everything. And it doesn't actually mean anything in the game because you're not actually doing anything in the game. You're not moving in the game. You're just sitting there and being a thinking head. And I'm not big on thinking ahead, like groups of thinking heads, not placing themselves into the environment or anything. They're just, pondering their thoughts. And I don't, and I find a lot of vampire kind of stuff ends up going that way with that story meandering of, things that they're thinking in their head. Doesn't appeal to me, but to actually have like an actual instance of their action showing what they are doing and how they are feeling, by them, integrating that into their actions works perfectly for me. And for me, that's very enjoyable because it's just like watching a movie or listening to a radio show or something like that, some sort of radio play.
You get to experience it. Like at the very start of everything we talked about, we're not like observing it from afar as people at the table at what's happening on the tabletop. You experience it like you're really there, and removing that barrier, or like you can never go 100% because then you're schizophrenic. I am Gollum.
I am Gollum.
Gollum wants the ring.
It's method acting, isn't it?
Even method acting. That was a great point by Better with Bacon on his YouTube that he brought up. You can never go 100% because even method actors have rituals to get back out of character to protect themselves, so they don't confuse real life with their job, right?
Yeah. I've practiced some method acting kind of things just to kind of get into it.
Oh, cool. You don't want to get lost in the sauce of who's on this show. Is it Rick or is it Grok?
Yeah,
barbarian.
Exactly.
He's showing up as this barbarian alter ego again. No,
that's right. Is he Valgar Bloodlight Warrior of Chaos, or is he Rick today?
Yeah, come out of here, Bruce Banner. Like, I don't want Hulk, I want Bruce.
That's right. Well, Zone, I think that's it for today. I really appreciate your feedback and extra voice in this, and some
Thank you for having me.
Some good insight there. definitely want to work on something with you. So I'll keep in touch here, and I think we can put together a pretty cool video by giving some cool examples, and maybe we can refine it so it's something that we can go ahead and maybe broadcast. And I think I've got a bit of money, so I might be able to go ahead and start to push some channels here by putting an extra boost on it to get it out there. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll put together something cool. And well, so everybody, I'm not going to do a recap of all the comments. We tried to kind of add what we could as it came along, but appreciate everybody that had chimed in and everything. I think we've answered or maybe injected on stuff here that people have been talking about in the background here. So
I had the comments on the sidelines, so we definitely addressed all the points. There was like a new guy at the start, Froxus. Like, can the game master say, like, oh, you hear a notification on the phone, or I look over the chasm? Yeah, exactly. Those are things you can do as a game master. You, as a gentle push of, okay, there's an email. The players never notice it, but the phone does a little notication blip.
Yeah.
And if the player ignores that, then that's his prerogative.
That's his problem. Fine. Yeah. You're not. You don't. Yeah.
You're not his mom. You're not entering like.
You could be his mom.
Francis, what's that thing going on? It's making that hiccup noise all the time. Is that your phone?
I keep blasting Guitar Hero 7.
Anyways, super thanks for everybody attending, and once again, we will have the traditional ending.
Alright, if you made it this far in the video and you feel like you want to go ahead and punch that subscribe button, we're learning stuff, I'm learning stuff, let's all learn together.
Subscribe now. Subscribe to 28mm RPG, subscribe to Big Bad RPG, and subscribe to Table Runner 3.
Thanks for joining us. Keep an eye out for our next upload. We'll look forward to having you on the next one. Bye.